Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Kira Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
All right, Alexa and Jacqueline Child on the Riderflex podcast. Hello, young ladies. How are you?
Great. We are good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to have you. Great to be connected. I want to get into the business, of course, of Dateability. It's, by the way, it's dateabilityapp.com, right? Is the website or the URL. I want to get into it,
Yes,
but go ahead.
It's also available on the app stores, but if you want to use the web app version, that's great too.
Cool. Before we get into business, I want to know about you. I want to know about your sisters. I'm guessing your sisters.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to start? Who is the oldest? Tell me about, are there other siblings? Tell me about your parents. Who wants to go first?
It's just us two, luckily, because if there were any more, they'd feel very left out by our close-knit bond. Our parents have been married for over 30 years. We're originally from Telluride, Colorado. I'm older, so I'm Alexa. I'm 4 years older than Jacqueline, and I am the classic overprotective big sister, which is partly part of the story of our founding of Dateability. And I'll let Jacqueline kind of take it from there, because your story is what inspired us to start the app.
Yeah. And I truly believe that it's the reason for our success thus far. But it all started back in 2009 when I was a young teenager and I became chronically ill. And it was quite the adjustment. And then I learned to adapt. And once I graduated college and moved in with Alexa, we were living in Denver, and I started to have my first experiences with ableism in a social setting. And that really stemmed from a lot of the mainstream dating apps. And I would go on the dating apps. I would match with someone. Sometimes they would ask me to go rock climbing or go on a hike for a first date, and I wasn't able to do that. So I would suggest something else, and sometimes I would disclose why I couldn't do that, and I would say, I have chronic illness, and that's just not accessible for me. And it was immediately met with rejection. Sometimes it was met with really offensive comments, people telling me not to have biological children, people telling me that I was a burden, and so these experiences just kept happening over and over, and it became really defeating. I really struggled with my self-worth and my self-esteem, and I began to internalize all of these comments and remarks about being a burden. And then in 2021, I had to make the decision to get a feeding tube with due to one of my conditions, which is called gastroparesis. And that freaked me out, and it freaked Alexa out, because we were talking about, if people didn't understand my disability before this, how are they going to understand someone who doesn't eat like a typical person? And she suggested that we make the dating app ourselves. And that's exactly what we did. We called our parents, asked them if they thought it was a good idea. They both said yes. Our dad has an entrepreneurial streak in him and was really excited for us. And we literally started creating the app from my hospital room while I was there recovering from the surgery. And it all led us to now.
Yeah, the feeding tube freaked me out. And that was the first time that I really felt freaked out for the consequences of the surgery. You know, I've obviously been through the entire journey of her disability and her chronic illness with her. And there have been times when it's been really stressful and scary, but this was different because a lot of times, you know, like we'll go out to eat together or I'll cook for us. And I was like, what's that going to look like now? Am I going to feel guilty eating dinner in front of her? Am I going to not be able to like go out with her? Or is she just going to come out with me and watch me eat? And we weren't sure how we navigate that. And I really thought, like, if I had these fears, what is the person who doesn't know her and who's unfamiliar with disability, like, how are they going to feel about this? And how are they going to react? People were already so cruel to her. Despite being so well-rounded and such a catch, I just didn't really know what the future held for her. And I know that she's not alone and that disabled people make up the largest minority in the world. And so I wanted to create this safe space for this community and kind of like weed out the people who are going to discriminate against disabled people and really foster inclusion and acceptance. And that's what we did.
Okay, I have some questions here. So the chronic illness, is it several things? You know, I'll probably get more personal than you want me to get, so you can just tell me if you don't want to answer. But
No.
are there multiple illnesses? Can you go into more detail of what's wrong health wise, if you don't mind, Jacqueline?
Yeah. It's a long list of chronic illnesses that really affect every part of my body. You know, some of those, like the big names that people would recognize would be lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. And then there's more rarer ones like gastroparesis,
And what is that?
trigeminal
Can you,
neuralgia.
for the listeners, can you just, yeah.
Yeah. So gastroparesis is essentially a paralyzed stomach. My food, when I eat food, it doesn't digest, and so it just ferments in my stomach and makes me feel really ill or will cause me to throw up. And
Mm.
it, you know, it'll literally just sit there for days.
If you
And
didn't throw up.
yeah, if I didn't throw up. And so it's been a journey. It's like I really deal with a lot of chronic pain, chronic fatigue, just body irregularities. And it's, you know, I've had over 40 surgeries on all parts of my body, some successful, some not. And it's really a day by day sort of thing. I have what is known as invisible disability. So walking down the street, no one would be able to see that I am disabled, which does pose its difficulties with dating and social settings because people, you know, will either one, just assume that I am not disabled and go treat me like and have the same expectations as just any other person. Or, you know, sometimes you get on the flip side, people don't believe that you're disabled if you tell them that. So it can be tricky and challenging, but really most disabilities are invisible. So it's great to talk about it and destigmatize it.
Has this been since you were a child, problems since you were?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I really became chronically ill when I noticed stuff when I was 14 after a viral infection, but once we went down the rabbit hole, we found out that I was born with a bunch of these things, and it needed that trigger to actually manifest.
And the first diagnosis, one of the first that Jacqueline had was POTS, which is what a lot of people who are getting COVID are dealing with now. And so now we're seeing like it come full circle. It's getting a lot of attention, which if more research dollars are put towards that condition, that's great for
I don't know what
like
that
Jacqueline.
is. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so POTS is a postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and essentially just a dysregulation of your nervous system causes dizziness, low blood pressure, high heart rate. And, you know, sometimes it can be easy to treat with medication. Sometimes it's a little trickier.
Causes a lot of people to faint.
Yeah, fainting and syncope.
Okay, Jacqueline, not to get I don't want to go down that rat. I don't want to go on and on, but I feel terrible that you have. I mean, how many medications are you on? How many pills do you have to take a day?
It's like a pharmacy.
Yeah, a lot. You know, I take probably 20 pills a day. And you know, and then I still have my feeding tube. I have a port and so I do infusions directly into my chest. And so
what does that do? What is that for? Directly into your chest.
Yeah.
What is that for?
Just basically delivers like IV and medication into your
I see.
rather than having an IV.
I see.
And yeah, it's been quite the learning curve. A lot of people are like I'm very good with the medical stuff now. I really honestly feel like I could be a doctor. And anything like people will come to me for advice and before they go to their doctor, and then they confirm it. And I'm like, yeah, I told you so.
Is the feeding tube because you still can't eat? You can't just go to dinner.
Yeah, it's tricky because doctors want me to eat. They encourage me to eat because if you don't use your stomach, you will lose your stomach. Basically, it's a muscle and it needs to be worked.
Okay. All
so right. Well, I don't eat as much as a regular person and as often. I will eat, and then unfortunately I will throw up. But I get all of my nutrition through the tube, and so that was a real learning curve.
Okay. If I met you on the street, I wouldn't think anything was wrong. Right? Which is this invisible. This is what'd you call it? Invisible. What's it called?
Invisible disability.
I see. Yeah.
And honestly, if you talk to her, if we met on the street and you're like, do you want to go grab coffee? You wouldn't know either. You know, I'm not disabled and Jacqueline is my dream partner in crime. You know, we always have so much fun together. And I know toxic positivity is really annoying and she's not that. You know, we have real moments and, you know, life kind of sucks sometimes for everybody, but you really do, like, you don't make that your whole personality, your whole life, and you know, to each their own. But for you, you're a pleasure to be around. So all of the discrimination that you were facing on these apps is ridiculous, because if I wasn't your sister, I would date you.
I mean, you've been smiling since since the show started. I mean, you're in a good mood. Like I mean, most people in your situation would be like, fuck this, man. I hate life. I hate everybody. And I'm going to just, I don't know, just be miserable every day and be mean to people. I mean, you have this great positive outlook. I mean, I'm sure you have bad days, but I mean, right now I'm like, wow, all these other people listening to this episode, they think they're having a bad day. I'm like, no, you're not having a bad day. Call Jacqueline. She'll talk to you about a bad day.
Yeah, you know what? I really value perspective, and this has really changed my perspective on everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I was always naturally like a positive person, and I didn't let stress get to me. But I think like my saving grace is that I do have a very stable mental health, and I just really try to enjoy the little things and focus on other things, not necessarily my disabilities. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have bad days, and there isn't a day that I'm not in severe pain. But then, you know, I go outside and I walk my dog and I'm happy. And I think, oh, go ahead.
Are you having to take opioids or pain pills every day, or like, what are you doing for pain?
Yeah, so I've been on an opioid for like 7 years now. And that was, you know, that it comes with a lot of stigma. Sure. But it has really allowed me to do the things I need to do to get by. And, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. You know, I don't feel anything now that I don't have any side effects from the opioid, and honestly, having chronic pain has more side effects than being on an opioid. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Isn't that sad? Well, I don't want to go down that we could do a whole podcast episode on that, but opioids for people that get addicted to them could be horrible, obviously. But
tragic.
but living in severe pain every day it is absolutely
Mhm.
miserable. I mean, I of course, as I get older, I'm 57 and I know older people, and I tell my wife now, I'm like, look, I don't necessarily want to be hooked on an opioid, but I know one thing for sure. I don't want to wake up in pain every day. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's sad that they get a bad name because they can help people relieve pain. Okay, you seem functional. You don't seem high right now, so you seem fine. By the way, speaking of high, does cannabis help with the pain at all? I mean, does cannabis help at all
No,
or no?
no, we're from Colorado, so even when it was first medically
Yeah.
approved,
Yeah.
we tried that, and it did not, and sometimes it actually made my pain worse. And then
Interesting.
it
Wow. Okay.
also gave
Okay.
me, I don't like the mental effects of it,
Yeah.
so that is
I,
not
I
something
hear
that
you.
I partake.
I hear you. What's alcohol do?
I don't drink.
I see.
Just with all the medications I'm on, and then also how it would affect my symptoms. I also don't drink.
Okay. All right. All right. So your sister, Alexa, is like, all right, she's got this idea. You guys are talking about this. When you first, I'm sure you're like Googling or you're checking GoDaddy. You're like, okay, there are other companies that do this. Like, surely somebody's got an app like this, right? You're probably sitting there in the hospital Googling, like, well, surely somebody's done this already.
Mhm.
Nothing. There was nothing.
So I did a Google search. I said, before we venture into this, we're going to download every app that's seemingly for disabled people that for
Okay.
dating.
Okay.
And the two of us downloaded every single one. Everyone was either technologically insufficient, like it would just crash, like they would load and then crash. So it
All
was
right.
unable to be used. Or the people on the app were people who are more likely to fetish disability, and they were like just it was more predatory. It was pretty obvious and really gave both of us the heebie-jeebies, and wasn't like a real dating app. Like we wanted a Hinge or a Bumble or a Tinder for disabled people.
Okay.
And because people are fun, they're cool, they deserve love, they're worthy of love, and we just wanted to recreate that and give that space, give a space that reflects that. But yeah, all the other, we did download everything and realized very quickly that there was nothing legitimate.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. And so talk to me about how did you get started? Did you put cash in? You're not, neither one of you are developers or programmers or software engineers. So, how did you get this going? Did you raise some cash? Tell me how you got it going.
We did. Our parents were our initial investors, and so we raised money from them via a safe, and then we have a few donations from angel investors via safe as well. However, I thought that we would get some VC money pretty quickly, like once we showed social proof and we had some traction, which we have experienced, because we're the only players in this game, and that was
You would
not
think.
our
Yep.
reality. Disabled founders are 400 times less likely to get VC money than a non-disabled founder. Add
Why?
in the fact that we're both female. That's a really good question, and I don't know. I
I
just
think just like
bias, yeah, bias, stigma. And then add in the fact that we're both female founders, which is there's a lot of discrimination, and so we have been unable to raise VC money despite having a ton of press, despite having 21,000 users in like a year and a half, despite having several success stories. And so we're a bootstrapped company, essentially. We have a few checks from angel investors, and everything else, we are very aware of every dollar that is spent.
Yeah, we were able to launch the app with our MVP for $25,000, which is pretty unheard of. And then once we launched it, and that was through a consulting firm, and then about a year after we launched, we realized that we really need to move the tech in-house, and so we were able to find a tech team to come in for equity, and
Nice
I
move.
think
Nice
that
move.
was, yeah.
How much did you have to give up? You don't want to, do you want to share your cap table detail? Are you guys in control of the cap table still?
Yes,
Absolutely.
very much so.
All right. And between you
And
two,
that
is
is
it?
the goal.
Yes, of course. So
Yeah, the goal for-
you two own the majority, and then with
Yes.
that, is it split between you two?
Yes.
Yes.
What happens when you get in an argument? You don't want you can't make a decision. What happens? Do you flip a coin, or what do you do?
We really haven't gone into a business argument
Nothing
that
with, like, a deal breaker.
that can't be resolved within a minute.
Yeah.
And you know, we're very close with our parents that we'll usually ask them for their advice. Sometimes we take it, sometimes
Or
we
our
don't.
or our tech team, if it's like a tech issue and I think like, oh, I want to change this, and you're like, that's not necessary. I'm like, well, let's ask the team what they think. Sometimes it's a compromise down the middle. It's like a little bit of both, but
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
All right. You said 20,000 users, so you have revenue coming in.
Right now we
Yeah.
don't. So we launched as a completely free app, and that was very intentional as we wanted to gain the trust of the community.
Okay.
A lot of times these like services come out for just the disabled community, and you know, they're really are like, oh, this is gonna be great, and then give me $40 a month for this. And then that sometimes they're great, but sometimes they're not. But we will begin monetizing this summer with a subscription model. And so we'll always have a free version, but similar to the other dating apps models, we'll just have a premium version with more features.
Okay, so you eventually, all right. So how are you living? How are you eating and paying the mortgage? Now, Alexa, I think you're an attorney, right?
I am, and I still am. I'm a public interest attorney, and so I work all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a side hustle deal for you, basically. So that's how you're paying the bills, your attorney job.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what about you, Jacqueline? How are you paying the bills?
Yeah. With some savings that I have, and you know, some assistance, but we're really the good thing about us like being bootstrapped is that we are really, really cognizant of every penny we spend, and
right.
we try to make every cent count, which has really taught us a lot.
How much have you raised total?
About 100,000.
Okay. What do you got left? 10? No, I'm just playing. You don't have to tell me that. You don't have to. You have to. Do you live together? Do you live together?
Yeah.
Do you have boyfriends? Are you married? Are you single? What's give me the social status.
We're both single. We live together. I work from home.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. We, you know, I think I'm confident that I'll find someone on Dateability to date.
Well,
but
yeah, I would think the founder gets first dibs, right? I mean, can't you like filter it to where you get the? No, I'm just playing.
Everybody says, yeah, I'm confident you'll meet somebody as well. I'm confident I might be a lone wolf forever.
Why do you say that, Alexa?
Oh, as I get older, I get more and more stubborn and independent. And I think when you stop making like room for people in your life, it's harder to share your life with like a new person. So I'm very
you're very protective of your space and your energy, and the right person will come along, and I think that they'll be able to squeeze in, but you're like, oh, I'm not going to try so hard.
Yeah.
Now, Jacqueline, I see you. I'm gonna just go out on a limb here. Remember, I'm a recruiter for a living, so I dissect people for a living, right? I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Jacqueline. You strike me as very soft and warm and very, just, if I said, hey, let's go to this restaurant for dinner, or let's go watch this movie, you'll be like, yeah, cool, whatever. Alexa might be like, no, we're going to do this instead.
Yeah. I want to make the other person happy.
Yeah.
Like I do make sure like I'll come up with the plan, but then I'll be like, but is this plan good for you? And if it's not, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well, yeah, but if they say it's not good for me, then you'll go into your lawyer routine and convince them that it really is.
Yeah. I do agree with that statement. I would say like growing up, it was the exact same. It's really funny, but at our core, we're like very, very similar. We both have the same end goal. Like we want to be empathetic and compassionate. It just comes out in different ways. But yeah, and sometimes it bothers Alexa that I'm like, you decide where we go eat. But I know that if I decide and she doesn't like it, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I can
feel
see that. I can see that all over you.
like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I can
like
see that. I can read that dynamic between you two in the first 45 seconds. Absolutely. What'd you go to school for, Jacqueline?
psychology. I went
Okay.
to Colorado College, which is in the Colorado Springs, and I majored in psychology, and then I got my master's in family and human development.
Okay. And Jacqueline, I noticed you went to school in Mass. Where'd you grow up?
In Colorado,
Oh,
in
that's right.
Telluride, which
Telluride. I see. I see.
is
Okay. Jacqueline,
Alexa went to school in Massachusetts.
why'd you go to school in Mass, Alexa?
For the seasons. I told everybody when I got there and they thought I was some Colorado hippie. I thought that I could get the best education out there. I'm a bit of a nerd, and
Okay.
I thought that that's like where education in the United States started, right? In Massachusetts. And I was like, I'm gonna go there. The history is totally different than where I was from. Of course, I ended up back in Colorado because I love Colorado and I will be here forever. But I needed to spread my wings and fly and go somewhere where I didn't know a soul and where I've never been before, and I loved it.
Okay. Yeah, Telluride to Massachusetts is yeah, completely different. That's you
Yeah,
it's two different
yeah,
planets. Are your parents still in Telluride?
they
They
are.
are.
Retired, or what do they do?
Um, her dad, I would say semi-retired. I think
I don't know. He's on a work call right now as we speak,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure. He's supposed to be retired, but he's in finance, in the financial debit card world.
I see. Okay, and your mom?
she was a homemaker, the best stay-at-home mom ever, and then picks up jobs here and there whenever she would like.
Okay. All right, cool. Who was tougher, dad or mom?
Mom,
Yes,
she's
absolutely.
scary.
Yeah,
Really?
she's so honest. She will definitely call you out when you're wrong. Which is, it's helpful. It's like, when you receive good things from
Mhm.
coming from her, like that they're truthful. And so
Okay.
we appreciate that. But growing up, she was
Scary.
yeah, she was strict. She had her expectations.
Okay,
Um,
so Alexa's more like your mom, and Jacqueline, you're more like your dad.
Yeah.
yep.
I, I got it. Okay. All right. All right. I've been digging into your guys' personal life. Let's talk about the app for the dating app for a minute. All right. So, they didn't have these dating apps when I was young. It's a different world. And thank God I've never had to use one. I probably wouldn't do well. I have questions. So it is dateabilityapp.com is what you should do, or just look up Dateability on the app stores. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And right now it's free.
Yes.
So I have a bunch of questions here. How do you qualify? What qualifies you? What is it for mental health, physical health? How do you qualify?
That's a good question. And that's something that we wanted to figure out in the beginning. And so we wanted to make it for all people who are disabled, any kind of disability. So psychiatric, intellectual, physical, chronic illness. Am I missing one?
No.
And but we also were like, okay, so then how do we just allow disabled people? And if so, how would we verify that? And then you're entering the world of HIPAA and a lot of sensitive information and a lot of privacy. And that's really difficult if we're like needing a doctor's note. And then I'm thinking, who is ever going to get a doctor's note for a dating app, right? Like the whole point of dating apps is like, so it's at your fingertips, it's right there, it's instant gratification. That's the whole point. And so we decided to welcome everybody. So non-disabled people can join too. And about 10% of our user base is not disabled. They a lot of times have a personal connection to disability, whether it's a sibling, a friend, a parent, their job, or they're just, kind of an ally at heart. And so it's great to see that. It really weeds out the people who are going to discriminate. It really, helps foster this inclusive environment. And there is no verification because,
Okay.
disabled people have a hard time enough like proving themselves. The number of times Jacqueline's gotten yelled at for parking in a disabled parking spot, despite having a placard and having had a placard for 15 years. Like, there's enough hoops to jump through as a disabled person. We just want this app to be here and have it be a positive experience.
Okay. All right. So anybody can sign up. All right. Very good. 20 something thousand users over what, a year and a half, or what's the timeline on that?
Yeah, a
Okay.
year and a half.
And that's
Oh.
really all organically acquired. No, we have no marketing budget. It's all been from press and word of mouth, social media.
Okay. You said some success stories. You got anybody who's gotten married? You got anything cool to share?
Not yet, which is good because I would say take it slow. It's only been a year and a half, but we have people who are moving in together.
Yeah, moving in together. We have some couples that are very serious, which is really great to see.
That's cool.
And from our success stories, we really have like it hits all types of disabilities. So we have like a success story with 2 people on the autism spectrum, one with psychiatric disabilities, the other with chronic illness. So it's really beautiful to see.
What's the percentage breakdown of your users? Is it the vast majority is mental health, or the vast majority is a physical impairment, or what? Do you know?
Yeah. So the highest percentage is people who are chronically ill and have a physical disability. And chronic pain is up there. And as far as like gender, we're split very evenly, like 50-50 with men and women, which is unheard of for a dating app. And then with age, we have it's like 24 to 35 is the biggest chunk. But we also do have a nice size of users who are senior citizens, which was surprising.
Yeah, it was surprising because I thought that, like, as you said, when you get older, you develop chronic pain, you develop health issues.
Yeah.
And so I figured like the discrimination would stop. Like, once everyone around you, yourself included probably, is becoming disabled or chronically ill, that discrimination, that ableism would stop. It does not, from what we've heard from our older users, which is really a bummer, but now there's a place for them to meet other people.
Okay. You have mentioned the word discrimination several times in this show, Alexa. Talk to me. You got there's some passions around some things here.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I think that it's on like several facets. From like an economic job point of view, there's a stigma that disabled people are lazy, they don't work, and they just collect that Social Security check, because that Social Security check, man, really sets you up for life, $900 a month.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that stigma, like, I see tweets like I see or on X that say like that people are just collecting a check, that they like game the system. It does not work like that. There's the stigma that disabled people are not attractive physically, that they are not desirable. There's a stigma that disabled people don't want to have sex or can't have sex. There's a stigma that, they shouldn't have kids. Somebody told Jacqueline once that she should not have biological children because she'll pass down her chronic illness. This was in like the first few messages on an app before he even knew whether her chronic illnesses were even genetic. And so there's a lot of discrimination and rejection. Surrounding disability, it's shocking and sad, and it's really something that we're trying to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot of efforts into inclusion and diversity, which are all amazing efforts, but it often excludes disability, and people don't really talk about how important it is to include disability, which it's a shame because disability is so intersectional and disability doesn't discriminate against anyone, and anyone can become disabled at any time. So I think it's important to put that at the top of the goal post, because if you hit disability, you're also going to hit race, you're going to hit sexuality, you're going to hit religion, gender. So it's really important.
It's interesting. Yeah. with all of the talk around diversity and inclusion, discrimination and everything, it's true. I don't think about disability. I don't think about handicap, disability. Like, that never even enters my mind, because social media pounds us with the sex, the race, the religion, all the other stuff, you know, and you don't hear about, okay, well, what about people that are disabled? You know, they're discriminated against too. Like that, I never, you don't ever hear about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, 1 in 4 adults in the United States are disabled. That's a pretty stable statistic across the
Wow.
world. And
Wow.
disabled people do not have marriage equality. So, you know, there's obviously this big push, 10, 15 years ago for marriage equality among gay couples. Now, if a disabled person receives government benefits and they get married, they will lose those benefits. So there is no marriage equality for disabled people.
Wow. Okay. You just opened up a whole can of worms. We could do a whole nother podcast on now this stuff. Holy cow. Okay. What is an average disability check? Do you know what the average, if somebody goes on
Uh,
disability?
it depends if you're on SSI or SSDI, but I
I
would
don't know what
say
that, I don't know what those mean. You have to tell the user.
SSI is like that is given to people who have never paid into Social Security.
So
And
if you
then
become disabled when you're 20.
yeah,
I see. I
like
see. I see.
and but SSDI is yeah, you know, you have
I see.
paid into
Okay.
those and taxes.
So
You get more.
if I become disabled tomorrow, I've been working for, 15 years. I had paid into Social Security.
SSDI uses like work credits,
Yes.
To determine
So it'll
your
depend on how long I've worked, how much I made when I worked. Social Security is it's a stable number, right? For everybody?
No.
For SSI?
No, it depends. And the most I believe at this time that a person on SSI can get is $900 a month.
That is correct.
And so it's really nothing. And also it's really hard to get approved for Social Security. You know, disability, it's just there are so many people who qualify and they get rejected from that.
Well,
And so
even if you do get it, how do you live? I mean, $900 might buy your groceries for the month. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, because groceries are so expensive. I just went and I bought a week's worth of groceries and it was like over $200 and I nearly died. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is insane. And I work full time. I don't know how anyone is affording to feed themselves. It's true that stigma that disabled people are lazy and they're just sitting back, collecting this government check. It's like, how far does $900 get you in the world we live in today?
Dude,
It's completely false.
And on top of that, you cannot, if you are on SSI, you cannot go over even a single penny over $2,000 in your bank account. And so if you have to spend that. So if you have $2,000, $2,100, they will come for you and you'll have to pay them back. And so
if you get money from a family, if you get money from a friend, if you, I don't know, win a prize, something, you'd be very aware.
Okay, well, then people are just going to cheat the system. They'll just be like, okay, put it in my sister's account or put it in my brother or whatever. I mean, people just...
But that's a hoop that like this is, like no one else has to jump through. I can keep all of my money in one account and not have to worry about it. And you shouldn't have to like do that. I think it's a lot. And then if you do get married, you lose those benefits because your assets are combined with your partners. And so you're immediately you don't qualify anymore.
There's so much. Okay. You guys don't just have a dateability app. You're not just a dating platform. You're actually a power couple that could do all kinds of good things for people with disability in so many different avenues, whether it's legislation or I don't know. I mean, there's a much bigger play here than maybe just a dating app. That's
in our pitch deck. We are more than a dating app. We are a movement.
Yeah, I can feel it. Okay, great. All right, cool. Yeah. I'm reading that. I'm thinking, I'm talking to you guys. I'm going, okay, you got the dating app. That's cool. Well, there's a lot more here. Yeah. Okay, I got you. So I want to ask you. We got off that. I want to ask you some stuff about men and women in dating apps. But first, let me come back, Alexa, on the investor piece. Do you truly believe? I'm sure there's stats on this. So you believe there are VC firms that straight up are discriminating against you because it's people with disability. And you also
I
said,
think it's lower. Sorry, go ahead.
and you also said because you're women. And
Yes.
I mean, right now, okay, all right. All right, the fact that they might be discriminating against you because of the disability, I think that's shameful if they are I mean, if they're doing that, I mean, it's like that's just crazy that they would make that decision. Now, the female piece, I mean, right now, I would think that's a huge attraction. I mean, everybody I talk to, if you're a female founder, you have more likely to get funded than me as an old white guy to get funded, basically. Now, that's not what you're seeing?
That's not the reality. The reports come out every year about VC funding and the percentage that women get. And I think it's is it like 2%? Am I making that up? And I know that Forbes, the statistic that disabled founders are 400 times less likely to get VC money was from Forbes. So I did not make that up. What I think, I don't know if it's like straight up discrimination though. I think it's more nuanced. I think we get the feedback that the dating app market is oversaturated.
Okay.
And I would agree with them.
Okay. Yep.
Somebody like me who is not disabled, the dating app market is oversaturated. I literally have so many apps I could join. However, Dateability is the only dating app for disabled and chronically ill people. And I think where the discrimination piece comes in is that they have a hard time appreciating this problem we're solving. They don't understand how hard it would be for a disabled person to date and the discrimination they face. And so they don't really appreciate what we're doing. And that's where it comes in.
And we've also had a lot of feedback, subtly and not so subtly, that talking about intimacy and disability makes people uncomfortable, and that people don't want to think about disabled people having sex. And so we'll often get the advice, you should pivot into a friendship or companion app.
Really?
And great, friendship
Interesting.
is important. And we want to eventually, have an official friendship feature, but disabled people also want to date. And
Sure.
That's the truth.
And that was the problem that you were experiencing that we wanted to solve. It's from a personal, experience. And we wanted to, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to pivot. So
if anything, I would think a disabled person is more lonely physically, sexually than the average person because it's harder to get laid, so to speak. I mean, I hate to use, I mean, it's just, I would think it's harder.
Yes, you're absolutely.
Wow. You need to, I'm sure you've thought of this. Why don't you find a couple of angel investors that are disabled, that are billionaires?
Yeah, we've been trying to contact some people. I agree that
Gomez, if you're listening, call us.
I agree that is like the way that we will get more investors, is people who have a connection to this.
Sure, absolutely.
Or
Yeah,
yeah. And because once you have experienced it yourself, there is really no denying that.
How much are you trying to raise? What's your current raise?
Not in a while. At first, we took a little break. Mentally, I was like, the rejection was. We were like, okay, like 500,000 to $1 million.
No. Why not go much bigger? I'm sure you've been told to go bigger.
Yes, we have.
Why not go way bigger? You should go way bigger.
We're not sure we need it yet, and I'm being equity stingy. I don't want to give up a big chunk of equity for an investment that we don't necessarily need.
Raise as much as you can without giving up 51%.
Yes.
That's the advice that my dad gives us.
And that is the advice. I'm stingy, so I'm greedy. We set this up so, Jacqueline can have economic freedom in the future. I can. And so while doing well and doing good and impacting the community, we want to do well for ourselves. So I'm just trying to keep my eye on that as well.
So you don't have an updated teaser or a deck or anything?
Right now? We do.
Let's talk offline. I'm going to talk offline for that. Okay. All right. Now, all right. Then I want to ask about the men and women thing. So unfortunately, I have friends that are in their 50s that get divorced. I feel sorry for them because I can't imagine being single and 50 years old. That'd be terrible. So, honey, please don't leave me, sweetheart. She can hear me in there. They always complain to me. There's all these stats around how like 80% of the women will get pinged, but only like 15% of the men actually will get the response. As this vast majority of males do not get a response. And then they complain that because of that stat, if that's real, I don't know, you can tell me, then they complain that then that makes the women that they would score lower on the scale of 1 to 10 think that they're hotter than they really are because they're getting pinged by all these dudes. So it gives them this false sense. Is all this true? Is this?
I think what's happening is it's like 30% on most dating apps, 30% women, 70% men. So there's less women. So women are getting pinged more.
Why is that? But let me just stop right there. Why is that? Why is it 70-30?
Oh, I think that dating is really hard for women. I think that they become very vulnerable to either unsolicited pictures, unsolicited messages, a lot of like expectations. I know that it can be like very sexual, like sexualized very early. And so I think a lot of women are like, I don't want to do this. So when we had 50% women on our user base, we were like overjoyed and thrilled. We're like, this is amazing. Like the women in the community trust this app to join, and they're not they're not, jaded by it, at least not yet.
Is the 70-30?
Yeah, but
Go ahead, Jacqueline.
I agree that the men, we do see more customer service emails about men not receiving a like back, or saying like, am I active? I haven't received a like. And
how come nobody's responding to me?
And there is a common thread usually among this, and it is that their profiles are just not enticing, and that they need to, dating does take work, and
you zhuzh up
you have to have a good profile on a dating app to receive likes. That is just the way
putting a picture of flowers without you in the picture, it's like no one, like who's gonna swipe on that? I wouldn't. So we try to tell them nightly, have a blog profile, and we send it to them, but it needs a little zhuzhing.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you why I think it's 70-30. Tell me how dumb I am, because I'm an outsider, right? I'm ignorant to this whole thing, but my brain would tell me I think it's 70-30 on these apps because most men are pigs, kind of, and they just want sex.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Well, and I think women most of the time want more emotional connection and relationship, at least at first, a little bit, right? They don't just want to be like, no, I'm just going to come over to your house and sleep with you like right now. Mm-hmm. But a lot of dudes would do that. A lot of dudes would be like, yeah, let's just hook up, and don't tell me your middle name. I don't need to know. You can, whatever. And so these 70% is these dudes thinking that's what's going to happen. They get on these apps thinking, I'm just going to ping this. I'm going to swipe here. She's going to come over. I'm going to get laid, and then she's going to go, and I don't have to worry about it. This is what's going through their brain. And women get really turned off by that. And therefore, that's why there's only 30% on there, because they're like, all these guys just want to do is just have sex. I want a relationship. Now, am I close or no?
I think you're dead on. That's what I was trying to say without appearing like I hate men, because you can say that because you're a man. And I was trying to say, I think it turns sexual really early. I think and from our experience, I mean, Alexa will, if she'll be asked on a date, and it'll be a wildly unsafe scenario for a woman to go into, like a hike in the woods in a remote area. She's not going to do that.
Hey, first date, let's go for a hike in a remote area. I know you don't know me.
Yeah. And I said, that'll be the last time that Emily ever sees me again. And they got upset that I accused them of potentially wanting to murder me. And I said, I'm not saying that you want to murder me. I'm saying that I don't know. I don't know if you want to murder me. I don't know you. And to not even understand the female experience at all. We're in our 30s. If you haven't figured out that this is what women think about, then we're never going to be a match. There's going to be other things in the future that you don't understand.
Bingo. Totally. Yeah, totally agree. That's what you should do. You should make dudes take a course before they sign up.
How to be dateable, how to respect.
Hello. Hello. This is not whatever the app is where you supposedly just hook up or whatever.
Sure.
Is that what? Yeah, Tinder. Okay, I guess. Yeah. This is not Tinder. Anyway, okay. His dating apps is, God, thank God I don't have to use those. But I think I think what you're doing for people that are disabled is great, because loneliness. I heard this the other day. I think it was Rogan was interviewing somebody, or maybe it was on Alex Friedman podcast. I can't remember, but like loneliness is like one of the biggest problems on planet Earth that nobody really talks about.
Yeah, I think the Surgeon General came out saying that loneliness is an epidemic, and
Yeah.
that, it really does affect all parts of someone's life, work,
No doubt.
social, mental health, and so
Physical, your
physical
heart
health.
health, your heart health is
Um,
determined, like they say lonely people die of like or get heart problems like earlier and more often than people who aren't lonely. It's crazy.
And I would think disabled people are more susceptible to being lonely, obviously. So I think it's great. It's great what you're now. How are you going to battle these AI agents with the fake girls that talk to you, and then they're going to then they're going to make the
bane of our existence. And that was happening. They were coming onto our platform, and we talked to other people with other dating apps, like major players, Grindr, OkCupid, and they were like, that's just the way it is. You're gonna have, it's a necessary evil. This is where our tech team comes in, our new tech team. They were like, let's do something. Let's do an approval process. Somebody signs up. They can browse profiles, they can send likes, but those likes won't actually be sent or delivered to another user until they're approved by us. So they kind of hang out in purgatory. And so if you're AI, it's really easy to spot. Your activity like never gets seen by another person and you're kicked off the app.
Okay, but I appreciate you sharing that. And I know we're almost out of time. You guys got a hard stop. But what I'm referring to is, what are you going to do when these AI agents get so good that males, these 70% males start having these AI agent girlfriends, okay? And then that satisfies their needs. And then the fucking robots get good enough where they're sending the sex dolls to these old men at home or whatever. What are you going to do? I just want to do this real quick. I know we're almost out of time. Hold on. Before you answer that question.
That's a good question. And I'm going to say, like, God help us all when we get there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Totally.
But I will.
So
God help us.
We haven't planned for that yet, but we'll start thinking about it.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is because these AI agents are getting better, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just do this real quick. Hey, it's me, Steve. I want you to tell me how awesome I am because we haven't talked in a while.
Hey, Steve, it's fantastic to chat with you again. Let me remind you how absolutely awesome you are. You're a fun loving, witty, and engaging conversationalist, always bringing up fascinating topics like Dune, Tombstone, and your family's exciting escapades. Not to mention, you have a super fun sense of humor, like when you wanted to play that prank on Maggie. You rock, Steve.
What's going to happen?
I don't know. But now I know if I'm feeling bad about myself, I need to go get an AI compliment. Jeez.
Anyway, that's another episode. I'm gonna have to have you back on the show.
Yes.
All right. Dateability app. Look it up on the App Store. Love what you guys are doing. Love your personality. I think there's something bigger here. Can you send me whoever, I don't know who's in charge of the cash raise, but can you send me the teaser or the deck or something? Let's connect offline because some of my advisory board members at Riderflex, they're investors, and when guests come to the show, they're like, "Hey, send me their deck." So we can talk offline. Okay.
Great.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for
nice to meet you.
us.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.